So this is for a reflectance of 0.75 or 75% reflection mirror. It's just a nice compromise for the fringe width and the resolution of the screen. Now here, the two wavelengths are actually shown overlapping, exactly the same wavelength. However, if I step this just a little bit, oops. Did it go? Okay. So now we see that second wavelength, and it's a tiny bit longer wavelength. Not much. It's a tiny bit longer. Okay, let's take that again, another step. Okay. So you can see that as that second source wavelength increases, just like we talked about, the fringes start to collapse, okay, toward the center. And now we see two fringe patterns. And I've artificially colored these green and red. Realize that the difference here, let's see, what is that? 0.025 angstroms really isn't going to be, you're not going to see a huge difference in color. That's just a pseudo color there. And now let's go in there and ask the question. Oh, and I've drawn the profiles over here on the right. So let's go in and look at two of these guys. Whoa. There we go. In detail. This is just the irradiance profiles. And there they are. Okay. So the shorter wavelength is on the right, and the longer wavelength is on the left. And these profiles are, as the reflectance increases, pretty close to a Lorentzian profile. Okay, you can just show that with the transmission Airy formula in the limit of high R. And you can see that there's a finite width to the fringes. So we want to ask the question, when is it that we can just start to resolve the two wavelengths? Because this kind of an instrument is used as a very sensitive spectrometer. You can see that the wavelength difference is very, very small. It's clear at this point that the two wavelengths are resolvable. If we go back to that first case here, just a second. Okay, those are the two exactly the same wavelength. Then as we step one step, at this point, the half maxima of the irradiance profiles are just touching. And if we were to add up the irradiance values for the total irradiance, it would be very difficult to see the fact that we had two peaks there, except you could just resolve it. So this is the point where we're going to say, okay, at this wavelength difference, we can just resolve the two wavelengths.